Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio podcast and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Renee Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Marilyn Alauria, a psychic medium, teacher, and coach. And today we're going to be speaking on the topic, how to connect with our soul guides. Hey, I don't know if I have a soul guide or what, but I look for a connection. There's so many good things happening in my life right now, and it's happening because I am listening to spirit. I am listening for instruction, and it's steering me in the right direction. So listen to what, Marilyn is going to be talking today, because we all need help in the spirit realm, because if we do it all in the physical body, then we're going to have to work too hard. So welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you. It's so true. I was at the time of us recording this, so it's November 1st. I hope people don't mind me saying that, because I know this is over evergreen. But I was in the woods last night having a particularly difficult day. And I said to Spirit, and it doesn't matter who you talk to, but I was like, all right, God, you really have to help me. Spirit, you really have to help me. And then I heard right away, you have to give up fear. Oh, wow. And it's really, I love how you started this conversation, because it really doesn't matter who we talk to. It's knowing that we're supported and loved. And there is this source out there that just wants to guide us, just wants to be with us. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes. I'm totally with that. I'll get into a little bit more about, how I help my energy in order to connect to spirit, my spirit guide. So, and we're going to talk about soul guides, and I absolutely do believe that they're here to help us. Awesome. All right, so let me give you a short bio on Marilyn. Marilyn Alauria is a gifted psychic medium, teacher, and coach with an unmatched capacity to ignite deep soul level transformation for her clients around the world. As the creator of the Soul Finder Academy, Membership for Your Soul, and host of the podcast, Who Can It Be Now? She offers a clear action plan for developing our talents, following our purpose, fulfilling our dreams, and living in alignment with your soul. Her online courses, Live and Thrive with Your Psychic Gifts and Communicate with Your Soul Guides, are popular courses on Sacred You. Awesome. Well, I like to start my my interview with, having my guests give a short little background or backstory to, introduce the audience to them, and also introduce me to them, so that, we can make a connection. So, so the first question I want to ask you, Marilyn, is, when did you first learn that you were a psychic medium? I mean, I know we're born with that gift. So how was it revealed to you?
So it was revealed at a very young age, but I didn't know that that's what was happening. I thought it was imagination, over dramatic, whatever, all those things that our parents like to call us and tell us that we have, especially, I'm in my 50s. So back then. And it wasn't until my late 20s, I was already playing with like tarot cards and things, that I started hearing my name called, and I started hearing whispering by my ear. I was already having precognitive dreams, where dreams that would come true, And then the Columbine shootings happened, and I woke up one night and the kids who did the killing were at the end of my bed. And I thought that it was my imagination. I thought I was just traumatized by the event. And I don't watch the news, but that particular thing, I was, watching the news. And I was living in Manhattan at the time. And then a year later, I think it was around a year later, 9/11 happened. And I woke up and the pilots were at the end of my bed. And they had, like, I'm going to be graphic, they had blood dripping down their face. It sounds crazy, but that is what I saw. And then from then it just accelerated. I started getting locked in rooms. I started hearing my name called. I started seeing spirits. And I moved to LA soon after that, because I didn't want to be in New York anymore. And I went to see a psychic, and she said, I told her what was happening. And she said, the dead are trying to reach you. You need to see a medium. So I picked a medium out of a magazine. There was just happened to be an article, and we know it just doesn't happen to be. There was an article in like W magazine of all the mediums in LA. And I went to see her, and she walked into the room and she said, you're a medium, without knowing anything about me. and the floodgates opened, and I had to learn how to work with it because it really scared me. So that's the shorter story, but I do talk a lot about it in my podcast, Who Can It Be Now? So you could hear about it in the beginning episodes, what happened.
Wow. Well, one of the reasons I love this show is, I'm getting goosebumps here, talking to you because I'm connecting. But I've had a few mediums in the show. One was a medium, a medical medium. I think she can,
Mm.
look and see what was happening inside, whatever, and tell you what your problem was. And then I had, a lady on here that her son died, and she was communicating with him. Then she went to a psychic, just like you did, and the psychic told her that she has this power. And then she, not only communicated with her son, and a lot of dead people were communicating with her so that they can communicate to her family, and she became a shaman. So I'm very familiar with the process. And I think the girl that said she was a medical medium said she went to some kind of a party and she was starting to see things from people, and then she had a long line at her door because everybody wanted to know what she had. So I give credibility to the science because I know that it's real. Wow. So, but you're a psychic medium, you're seeing things, yeah, there's a movie called Sixth Sense, and he says, I see dead people. So, so
Yeah.
you see dead people. And so how, our conversation today is about soul guides. So how do we make the bridge from seeing dead people to having a soul guide? Because a soul guide is different from someone that's the dead, I think, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience, although you can have a deceased one as a spirit guide, as a soul guide.
Okay.
For me, when the floodgates opened, I had to learn how to work with it because it was very scary to me. And through my process of working with it, I met different people, and one of them was a therapist who knew how to work with mediums.
Okay.
And I was in her office one day and I felt something leaning on me. It was leaning on me for quite some time, and I knew enough to trust the experience. And I said to her, something's leaning on me. And she said, well, close your eyes and tell me what it is. And I closed my eyes and I just started channeling right away. I just started giving her information. And she told me after, you need to continue this communication. So I had no idea what spirit guides were. I didn't know really what soul guides were. I knew a little bit about, I come from the Catholicism. So angels and saints were big
Right,
for me.
right, right.
And so I went home and I started working with this one particular guide, and he started teaching me about all these other guides and how to open up my gifts. And this is at a time when Google wasn't, I don't even think Google was around. The internet wasn't around the way it is. There was like one bookstore with, a couple of shelves of books around this. So I had to really learn for myself how to do it. Besides, I did study with some people, and they taught me how to communicate with guides. And I guess they were preparing me for teaching other people. So they called themselves teaching guides, and they really taught me, like, this is how you hear, this is how you see, this is how you feel. And it continues to develop. And I believe that everybody's gifted and everybody can develop this skill, and everybody does have guides. So that's how I bridged it. And all of a sudden I was in a whole new career. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And I'm like, how did I get here? But this feels right.
What
It was
did you
one of
do?
those things.
Well, you started in your 20s. So yeah, I guess you didn't get into a deep career before this happened. But yeah, wow.
It didn't become a career for me until I was 40, because
Yeah.
I was fighting it tooth and nail. I was like acting and pursuing act. I was in TV, television production where I won an Emmy. And then I left that to become an actress, and I was acting. And then I moved to LA and acting stalled. So I was a bookkeeper. And then I was still acting. And then I was doing readings, and I was working on a murder case with a deceased celebrity. And I didn't want to leave to go on set. I was like, I don't want to act anymore. I'm done. This is my calling. This is what I'm meant to be doing. And that was it. I gave myself over.
Wow, that's beautiful. So, um, so what is the purpose of a spirit guide? So let's say that I'm like you, in a sense that I believe in angels and I believe in the higher self. And I believe in the higher self and the angels are there to guide you and inspire you. And you know, when they say when you wake up in the morning, first thing before you when you wake up, that's when you're going to get channeled with some inspirational message, or maybe just before you fall asleep. And I think I heard you're saying that everybody has at least one or two guides assigned to them. Can you go into deeper, someone that's listening and don't understand what that is, including me, how does this happen, or why does it happen, and how do we embrace it? 3 questions in one there.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm okay with it. I first want to acknowledge what you said about higher self and angels, because I come from a belief system that whatever it is that you believe is correct.
Okay.
So if I say to you, Myrna, a guide can be a moon, it can be a tree, it could be somebody who's never walked the earth plane before, it could be a being from another planet, it could be an angel, an ascended master, it could be color, it could be light, it could be music, it could be sound, it could be so many things. That's what I talk about in my book.
Okay.
But you're like, no, I like higher self and angels. I'm like, that is great. It's whatever resonates with you, because none of us really know what goes on the other side. We're all here figuring it out, and we're figuring out what's best for us. So I love the way that you approach the material. I just want to acknowledge that.
Okay.
To me, guides, I don't, I feel that we have maybe one or two that are with us our whole life, but I don't know the answer to that. And I won't know the full on answer until I'm dead. Right. Because I know who I have with me now. I know what they tell me, but and I have more than one or two, and I have a bunch. I'm not going to say how many, because it's a very intimate connection for me. But you can have guides in specific areas. Like I have a love guide, I have a health guide, I had a marketing guide for a while. He was amazing. I have a
Good for
philosophy
you.
guide. Yeah, so you
I
can
need
have
one of
guides,
those.
and yeah, you can have a business guide. And here's the beauty of it. You could admire somebody's business who's deceased, and you could say, hey, I want to work with Coco Chanel. And if you'll feel a full on yes with that, and Coco Chanel can come in and start helping you out, or Jobs, it doesn't matter. So guides can be anything, and they can help us in all arenas. And then there's teachers, which is a little bit different. Teachers are experts in areas, and they only come in for a short period of time to help you through a specific phase of your life. And guides will go in and out too, but I think there are certain guides. I have certain guides that are with me that will probably be with me till the end. I feel like they are there.
Okay. I have a circle back. So you have a
Right.
lot of guides because you're a medium and they understand that you can communicate with them. That's probably why they're there. Most people don't know how to communicate with them. But I went to a psychic once. Let's see, maybe 40 years, 30 years ago. And she told me that I have 2 people sitting on my shoulder, an older person or whatever. And I'm thinking that maybe it's my grandma or someone else. And, that's what she said. These people were sitting on your shoulder. So my question is, so if you have a guide, is it like somebody, I thought it was my grandmother, right? Is how are they assigned to you? Is it an archangel, or is somebody that's passed on that want to protect you? And that's a good leading to a question I had here, because you're talking about some grandfather in spirit rescuing his granddaughter. So that's a bridge. So let's talk about that.
Is that in my book, The Grandfather in Spirit Rescuing a Granddaughter?
Yeah.
Yeah. In my one of the stories. There's stories in the book. So
Mhm.
here's my answer to that. First of all, I do feel you have a female and a male. I feel like there is definitely a grandmother ancestral energy with you, but I also feel like it goes deeper than that, because there's a lineage of you're breaking patterns and habits, and you're bringing in incredible infinite wisdom to the masses. Like, you are a voice of so many women behind you who have always been a voice, but kind of like a whispering voice because they didn't have the platform to speak it out loud. But you are now you've given yourself permission. They are like, clapping and applauding you along to bring that message out to millions. And it's also, it's
Cute.
also like, think about your heritage and your story, and also being a face and a, for so much of, it's not only women of color, but that's really important, but it's also women in general. And Spirit says, please do not deny also the men that may resonate with your story as well. It's anybody who felt like they were put down or trampled on before. You're like, we're not doing that. And you're leading that parade. And then there is a man behind you as well as I feel like there might be more too. And this to me has more of a Catholic spiritual realm. It's like a Saint Anthony. It's like an energy like that. It's a very, very specific type of holy type of life.
Wow.
And I feel like it's not about you walking, like I'm getting pain in my shoulders with you as well, but it's not a burden. It's not meant to feel like a burden for you. It's meant to feel like it's light. And I feel like the people before you have maybe felt burdened by this, and they want you to know that this is like being lifted. This is an incredible way for you to bring this out into the world. So with that said, I honestly believe that guides can be anything. They could be ascended masters, they can be angels, they can be Jesus. It's what resonates for you that's the most important thing. People love Archangel Michael. It could be Archangel Michael. I love Jesus, but Jesus isn't one of my guides, but I still love Jesus, It could be a deceased loved one. It could be an angel, a being from another planet you've never met, if you believe in that, but not everybody believes in that stuff.
Okay.
So that is what it is. I want to say one other thing real quick, because you brought it in as a reading. I actually believe that we can all read for ourselves. That's why I teach. I don't go for readings. I'm actually starting to do readings again for people because I stopped doing them for a long time because I wanted people to stop being dependent on my word. But I believe that these guides are here to help us to tap into the infinite wisdom of our soul. And they're also a direct reflection of our soul. We're helping them as much as they're helping us. So I'm going to leave you with that answer.
I'm loving it. I'm
Are you
loving it.
have you written a book, or are you writing a book? Because you're supposed to be writing a book.
I've written one. It's my story.
Okay.
It's called Out of the Snares. So it's similar.
Yeah.
You just said that. It's coming from where my story. Yeah, my book is called Out of the Snares: A Story of Hope and Encouragement. Boy, and I'm like, I'm so connecting with you. I'm getting all these chills and goosebumps everywhere. So, but thank you for that. Thank you for that confirmation, because like I said, I live a charmed life, and I know that I'm receiving instructions, and I know that someone is guiding me, and so thank you for that. I love that. Yeah, so talk about this grandfather that rescued his granddaughter.
I don't know that I can,
You don't remember
because
that
I
one?
don't
Okay.
recall every single story in there.
Okay.
And I'm sorry for that, but
well, give us one where a family member came by and was a guide. I mean, I don't remember the story very much, but I know I put it in here because I saw it, right?
Yeah, and I've read every story because I interviewed some of the authors in there, and I don't recall that particular story, but I'm sure it's a beautiful story.
It was, because that's the one I resonated with. There was about 3 stories in there, and that was the one that I resonated with. And if I were to give you, if I go back into my memory, no, I'm gonna mess it up because I'm gonna make it up. But
and I'll definitely mess it up, because as much as I read them, I don't remember them.
Yeah, it was something to do with this granddaughter. Maybe it had something to do with some kind of crime or something, and the grandfather's spirit rescuing, because he rescued her. That's what I have here. The spirit guides that rescued her, but I don't remember the story. All right. So you mentioned that you now have a business, and as a psychic medium, you help your clients connect with their soul guides. So how do you help them do that?
I have to say a couple of things first, because this always happens to me. You said I live a charmed life, and I heard she created a charmed life. So they
Oh,
just
really?
wanted to say that. So not only do you live it, but you created it. The grandfather
I love
helping
it. Mhm.
the grandfather helping the granddaughter, even though we both can't remember the story, doesn't matter,
Mhm.
because if somebody who's listening really feels a resonance with their grandfather or grandmother, you can always call on that, because love really transcends time. It really does. You can develop a relationship with a grandparent that transcends anything that you experienced on the physical plane. So I do want to touch on that.
Okay.
The
Okay.
other thing, so I developed a business. My business is basically teaching people how to tap into their gifts: seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing, and knowing. I teach that you are the instrument. So the way that I see, you may see differently, right? So if we're both sitting here and doing a clairvoyant, a clear vision exercise, the way I see a turtle may be different than how you see a turtle. And if you're comparing how I see it, you're going to miss out on your own innate gifts. So I like to teach people how they see, hear, feel, sense, and know on their own, so they can develop those skills and then apply it to their life. And it helps you to live a much more, you know this already, Myrna, it helps you to live a life aligned with your soul. And that's what we're all here to do. And you said something really important too. You said, I know in the mornings you get messages, and in the evening you get messages because the mind chat is turned off. So if you wake up with a song in your head, go look up the lyrics, because that's your guides planting a song in your head. And when you read those lyrics, that's clairaudience, clairhearing. They're giving you a message. She's laughing.
I know you were laughing because it's only happened, the song thing has only happened once, but it's, I'm going to share this, being totally transparent. But there was a time when my husband and I were fighting, and I was considering, I think we weren't even speaking, I was considering divorcing him or something. And I woke up with this song in my head, bring back my Bonnie, bring back my Bonnie to me. And you know, when I sang that song, I was like 10. But I
Right.
remember the exact lyrics, bring back my Bonnie to me, bring back, oh, bring back my Bonnie to me. And I knew that was, and of course I forgive him. I figured that, okay, yes, the spirit guide is saying, bring him back. But that's the
I
only
love
time
that.
that I listen. I am, yeah, I'm connected. And, the only thing yeah, but anyway, it's not all about me. So yeah, so
No, but we all are connected. It is about you, because it's the two of us. So that's, I love that. And I don't care about stuff like that.
right.
We are all connected. And I love how you said something. I just want to, so anybody can do this. And the only thing that gets in people's way is their doubt, is their mind chatter. So there's a great opportunity where you were like praying about, you were fighting with him. What do I do? Divorce. And then spirit's like, whoosh, gives you that answer right away. I love
Yeah,
it.
right. A song that I haven't sung since I was 10.
Yeah.
And I remember the words too. I mean, I woke up and I remember the words, so, but yeah, but that's basically how and I've learned, being fully, again, transparent here, I've learned that if you don't listen, then you shut it off. So whenever I
Yeah.
think that I'm getting inspiration, I jump out of bed and I like get to it so it wouldn't shut off. But I was so encouraged by spirit guides, and I think it was probably because I had someone on the show, or I read a book or something, because I'm an avid reader. And I actually took a course on how to communicate with your spirit guides. And I didn't get anywhere in it because I'm not a very good visualizer, right? I don't see pictures, right? And I didn't get anywhere with it, and didn't do anything for me, because they're telling me to visualize, the spirit or guide or whatever. And I didn't get anywhere from it. But I know that I'm connected to source, and that's basically what I say. I'm connected to source, and I try to, source energy. So maybe that's one of the things that you were talking about. You're teaching people how to connect by, what they're good at. So for instance,
Yeah.
me, I can't see pictures. So you would tell them to what?
Feel.
Feel,
Start with feeling.
right?
Because I can guarantee, Myrna, close your eyes and think about source. So there's my Brooklyn accent, source. And
Mhm.
what do you feel?
Yeah, I
You
feel it.
know?
I feel the
Yeah.
energy, right?
Okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then what color would you guess that energy is?
But white.
Right. So now you just saw too. So
Right.
that's where I work through it. And then I'd have you
Mhm.
hear, like, what are they saying to you?
Right. Right. Right.
And you would
I
use,
don't
I
remember.
have
I
people,
don't remember if I heard anything, but yeah. But there was a course, and I maybe went to maybe 3 or 4. I didn't finish the whole thing. I went to maybe 3 or 4, lessons, and it wasn't doing anything for me, and I stopped. But yeah, so that's basically what we're trying to say here, is that you can connect with your source, you connect with your soul, guys. And I like what you said earlier about your soul. I yeah. I love when I can contribute to these conversations because I'm in the space, right?
yeah.
I think I either read a book. Yeah, I didn't have anyone come on the show about it, but I was reading a book, and they were talking about your soul is in front of you and it moves in and out. And if you picture what's right in front of you right here, right, then it's your soul. Or sometimes it surrounds you. So when I do my walking in the park and I'm communicating with
Mhm.
nature, then I'm focusing on my soul, so
Mhm. I love
I
that.
work with that. Sorry.
I love that actually,
Yeah.
because think about it too. Like, so I was going to say, when you said, you know, you don't have to be in deep meditation to communicate with your spirit guides. You could be doing it when you're washing dishes, doing the laundry, because it takes your mind off things. But walking in nature is one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah.
And if you're focused on your soul in front of you, if everybody just focused on their soul in front of them, you stop worrying about what's going on in your life, and you really start bringing yourself into the moment of the beauty that's right there.
Yeah.
So I could see that as a beautiful, first of all, it's a beautiful idea and a beautiful gift, and it's very transformative. I love it. Great.
Yeah. 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 You're making me feel pretty good. Thank you. All right. Well, yeah. So you wrote a book, and your book, it's called Mystical Connections with Soul Guides and Divine Teachers. So, talk about your book. Why did you write it, and what do you want the readers to walk away with after they finish reading it?
It's so funny because I didn't title the book, the publisher did. So I'm always forgetting the title. So I'm like, I hope she says the title. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go on Amazon and look up the title.
That's
But it's
funny.
Guides,
Right.
Mystical Connections, Soul Guides, and Divine Teachers. It cracks me up that I can never recall it. So
Okay.
I was approached by the publisher, Sacred Stories Publishing, I teach about guides. I'm definitely an expert in the field. And
Mhm.
she's wrote a series called Common Sentience. And there's a lot of contributing authors to different topics. And there's really great books like Nature by Ana Maria Vasquez, Animals by Dr. Stephen Farmer. There's different teachers and authors. So they approached me to write about guides. And I'm really glad that I said yes to it, because the way Ariel, the publisher, did it was really great. She interviewed me. And since she's very well versed in the space, she did really great follow-up questions. And then what they did is they transcribed my interview, they put it into book form, and then I was able to edit it. It was for a first book, and I've been wanting to write a book for so long. It was such a great process to go through. And you know what it's like to write a book instead of sitting down and having to do it the other way. And it really was an incredible experience for me to put out into the world what I feel guides are, because, and this is not a comparison in terms of putting anybody down. It's not. There's a lot of amazing teachers out there, but I don't see a lot of people teaching the way that I teach, which
Mhm.
is very much from your power center, not from mine. It's
Right.
putting the power in your hands, teaching you how to have an intimate relationship with your guides. And so that alone was great. I wrote 2 stories in it, the beginning story and the end story. And of course, I know those stories because I remember them. And then the very last part of it is experiential, because you don't learn unless you put it into practice. And then the appendix, you meet your own guide. I have guides that were channeled to me, and I give them to people, and you pick a number from 1 to 10. And so many people have done this, and they're like, oh my goodness, that's my guide. And they feel so connected right away, because it
Wow.
really changed my life. I was suicidal. I was really depressed. I was really unhappy. And when I met my guides and I learned what I was capable of and how I was supposed to help people, I really understood why I was here. And that gave me, I don't like to say the word purpose because I feel like it always evolves our purpose, but it really gave me understanding. So I hope that when people read it, they can have that peaceful connection, or when things are really disruptive in their lives, they have a tool or a technique to connect to something larger than themselves, so that they don't feel alone and they recognize that there is hope. Because I feel like that's what my guides gave me, besides expansive living. And you said, like, you live a charmed life. I've created the life that I live, and I continue to create it. And I feel like anybody can do that. We can live a life from our heart and soul. So,
Right. So
yeah.
that's great. That's great.
Mhm.
So you so how do you remember I said that I couldn't imagine my guide? Is your guide, do you see like a physical person, or do you feel them? Like you said, you felt somebody leaning on you when you're at the psychic, or it's just a whisper, like somebody dreams you. And how do you, yeah, how do you have this relationship with this guide?
So I see, hear, feel, sense, and know, and everybody can develop. Those are the different gifts. There's a lot of gifts out there. So yes, I see them. I know where they stand. It's a big thing for me. You need to know where they stand, so that when you're talking to them, they're in different spots for me. I have different guides, but if I'm speaking to my main guide who's in front of me, my whole inner awareness when I talk to her is directed at her. And I teach people in the book how to do that with breath. It's really good. So I see them, I hear them. Knowing them is claircognizance. That's when we get downloads. I'm sure you've had that experience when you get a download and you're like, I know everything. I know what to do. I feel them, and I sense things as well. So sensing them it's the same as feel, because I know them so well. I know their names. I know where they stand. I know what they're here for.
You're
I
kidding
feel
me.
their energy.
Wow.
So,
But then
and
you're a
anybody
medium.
can develop that.
But
Yeah,
you're a
but
medium. So let's talk about an ordinary layperson. Somebody's going to pick up your book.
Well, in the book, there's exercises to see, to feel, I think to hear also. I really feel, especially with where the world is going today and the consciousness we have at our fingertips, and as it's continuing to evolve, everybody can do what I do. So if you tell yourself you can, then you can. And it may, I didn't come out the gate this way. It did happen pretty fast for me, but there's a whole story to that as to why. And I would never say to I remember that one of the first, I did platform readings. That's when you read to a group of people, like a large group. And I did it like right away. Somebody invited me to do it. I never did it before. I was like, all right, I'll do it. And this woman in the audience asked me if she was a medium. And my response right away was, who am I to tell you you're not? It's not up for me to tell you who you aren't. If it's something that you're being called to, then develop it. So that's my belief. So the regular layperson can develop anything they want.
Obviously working with their energy system, right? Because you've got to be in a certain frequency, correct?
I agree. Yes, you do. Especially in the beginning, I used to have to meditate for quite some time to raise my
Right.
vibration so they
Yes.
could lower theirs. Yes, I
Yes,
agree with
yes,
that
yes.
1,000%.
Got that. Right. Yeah, because, and then I also heard something recently that said that one of the reasons that spirit don't communicate with us is because they're at a higher frequency, just exactly what you just said. They're a higher frequency, and not a lot of them know how to lower their frequency in order to communicate with us. And I don't know about us raising our frequency, but they have to lower theirs
Yes,
in
they
order
do.
to communicate. Wow. Well, listen, this has been an incredible interview. Thank you so much for confirming that I have guides. And then you can see them too, sitting on my shoulder. Wow, I got that reading, like in my 20s.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
and you trust that
What was
they're
that?
there. And now just ask them to like help you with your business, because I feel like they're calling you to do more speaking engagements. So it's like, especially around that book and speaking and motivating people, because you're such a force to be reckoned with and such a motivational person.
Thank
So
you.
they want to step up front and just guide you. So they will.
Be right. I started that, I started my career actually deciding that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I joined Toastmasters and started the teaching, and then I tried to get gigs, and I couldn't get any gigs, and I thought I'd forget it. Because all these things is good to say that you're going to do it, but then you have to find work, right?
It's
People
true.
have to hire you. And I said, oh, forget it. But, I found my calling in what I'm doing now on the radio and podcast. I totally enjoy it. I totally enjoy every aspect. Totally enjoy meeting people like yourselves and having these conversations, and and then I totally enjoy my 5-minute segment as a coach, because then I'm able to share my personal views, to my audience. And it really uplifts me when I do that. And I do feel that, and yeah, and my goal is to help people transform their minds, to transform their life, because it's where it starts. It's where it starts. There is absolutely nothing that you can do that doesn't involve your mind. You just said something a minute ago. Someone asked you, am I a medium? And you said, if you think you are, you are. It starts with the mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all starts with the mind. I've been listening to David Goggins lately. I don't know if you know him. He's an athlete and a marathon runner. I don't know enough about him.
He said, stay hard.
Yes. He's
right.
a Navy SEAL.
I love that guy.
Listen to him about mindset, man. Just so many I love. It is all mindset, and you can shift it and be like, my guides are there. They're there. I know they're there. I tell everybody it's intention. Just have the intention that you're speaking to them, and you will. I want to say something to your listeners. What you don't know about Myrna, and maybe you do already, is we had about a 15-minute conversation before we started this podcast, and she's so giving with information. So if you're thinking of working with someone like her, I would suggest you do it, because I don't know her. My publisher was the one, the publicist was the one who put us together. And you were so amazing. Like, I asked her a couple of questions, and she was just so forthcoming with helping me and guiding me and giving me information and telling me how to do it and how she did it. And like, we need more people like you in this world who is willing to help and guide and share and motivate others. So I just wanted, because I'm sure on your podcast, people maybe don't know that. I'm sure they know that side of you because you coach, but I really just wanted to share that with everyone.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate thank you. I do appreciate that. And that's why you're a life coach, because a life coach is someone that wants to help somebody to get, to be successful in life. And a lot of times life coaches don't even want to charge, because they're really just helpful. And, I have that. So thank you so much. I do appreciate that. And yeah, well, listen, all the information that you're getting here from Marilyn, if you head over to her podcast, and it says, who can it be now? And I'm assuming you're talking about guides. That's what you're talking about.
Guides, I do business stuff, spiritual entrepreneurs or any kind of entrepreneur. And there's a lot on there. So meditative journeys, a lot of things. Yeah. Who can it be now?
So that's amazing. Yeah. Because you always need to be in the seat of knowledge. You need to be in the seat of learning. One of the reasons I can come on this show and talk to guests, and I always have something to contribute, because I'm learning, I'm reading, I'm listening to podcasts, and we were talking about spirit guides, and I was able to contribute to this conversation because I've been there, I've done it. And in order for you to be well learned, then you go and you listen to podcasts and learn something, and how to elevate yourself, how to elevate your life, how to have conversations, And, it works. All right. Well, listen, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I absolutely enjoyed speaking to Marilyn today. Basically, what we're trying to say to you, how to connect to your soul guide, your spirit guide, your higher self, your higher power. All these connections help you to live a more fulfilling life. And I will tell you that I am there. I listen to instructions, and my life is just amazing. I keep saying, my pastor preached on the message that your appointment, you have favor for your appointment. Now, Marilyn was telling me that I have an appointment, and because I have an appointment, I have favor. And that's basically what I think, that I have favor. And that is why that, I get connected to the right people and things just happen. So in order for you to live in that space, then you've got to learn to connect with your soul guides, your spirit guides. And Marilyn has a book. She has a podcast that she wants to guide you, at least to start on your journey. So, all right, Marilyn, any last words before we wrap up?
No, thank you so much, Myrna. And if you want to learn more about me, you can also go to my website, marilynalauria.com. And my name is going to be spelled in the interview, so you don't have to spell it out loud. I don't have to spell it out loud. And really, the thing that I would say to everyone, first of all, thank you so much, Myrna, for your graciousness and for inviting me onto your podcast and interviewing me. But for anybody who's listening, if there's something that is troubling you, or someplace you want expansion or you want growth, then just talk to your higher self. Myrna started the conversation out that way. Your higher self is already living the life you desire. And your higher self is the first guide, and is a guide that you can communicate with right away, because you have an idea of what they look like, what they feel like, even though they're already living an expansive life. Put that guide at either to the right of you or left of you or in front of you. Make them stand there for like 3 weeks. Ask them, you just tell them you're going to be standing there. And every time you talk to your higher self, just put them in that position and talk to them, and go for walks or do the dishes or when you're doing laundry, and you will see there'll be a shift in your life that will be, you'll be unmistakable that it's because you're doing this work. And I just want to thank everyone so much for checking me out. And if I'm on social media as well, on Instagram and Facebook. So if you like what you hear, let me know what your takeaway was, and I will communicate with you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Myrna.
That's amazing. All right. So you are on, what's your social media handle? Is it your name or
My
your
name.
podcast? It's your name?
No, it's my name, Marilyn Alauria. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so I will have a transcript of my conversation with Marilyn on the show page, which is blog.myhelps.us. And there I would link out to her book. I will link out to her website. And as well, I will have her social media handles on there. For those who want to, that are listening right now, that you have a pen that you can write it down. Her website is Marilyn, and her last name is Alauria.com. So again, it will be linked out on the show page. But yes, well, listen, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Marilyn, for that reading and confirmation. I think I got more out of it than you guys. Yes, I love it. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for tuning in. And Marilyn, thank you once again. And until next time, namaste.